Hello, ho, ho, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We've got an amazing deck for you that's going to change the way that you, I, and we all think about deck building. Thank you to Quinny for this amazing idea. We've also got a Sarah deck that a bunch of my different friends are going to share credit for, and a Meta Monday look at Lamby's Loki by Night deck. Before we get started, though, I'm going to invite you to hit that sub button, hit that like, hit that comment. Leave us some love for this Christmas. It's completely free to you. Give us the present of showing us this love. We bring you 3 decks every weekday. We cover all the bundles. We answer your questions. We give you pro tips, everything you need to make your Marvel Snap journey as complete and positive as humanly possible. We do it for you. So please hit that sub button. We'd appreciate the support. In addition, we maintain this giveaway sheet. It's got every active giveaway in Marvel Snap. It's completely free. You just check it out. It's in the description to the video, and you can go get some free stuff and find some cool content creators in the process. We also do the biggest giveaway in all of Marvel Snap. We give away 15 season passes each and every season. We're going to be kicking that off. Hey, the cat's about to jump on me. We're going to be kicking that off starting on Wednesday's video. Remember, there's a video every weekday. All right, our deck credits for today. We've got our questions of the day first, then we're going to look at Quinny's deck, and then we're going to look at Quinny's thoughts about deck building, which fundamentally changed how we do it. I don't know if you guys can see the cat, but the cat is now chilling with me while I do this, demanding to be pet. He's right under the camera. He'll pop up at some point, unless he decides to wander away. We've got Phil J. Woodward's Sarah Control. Not sure if Phil made it first or Interrobang made it first, but please, it's Christmas. Show them both some love and support. This is Atticus. He is saying hello and Merry Christmas too. Snapcaster Toby took this to 2 infinite tickets, and Terrabang took it to another one. So this deck is quite successful. I'm just gonna keep going. You're gonna get cattail in this video, so enjoy that, folks. If you don't like cats, wow, that's a choice. We're going to look at our last day Havoc review. Havoc is out of spotlights tomorrow. So this is our last day review for that brand new card in Marvel Snap. So we'll take a look at that. And then we're going to look at Lamby Loki. You can find Lamby obviously on Twitch at Lamby Series TV. Lamby's the best player in the game. Finally, we'll take a look at my shop for Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. Madwa wants to know my take on the January Kazar bundle as compared to Sugar, Spice, and Everything Ice. We're actually going to save that question for last, even though it appears first, because we're going to look at both of those bundles and where they are now. I'm going to give you my initial impression here. Sorry, the cat is now on my hand and it's messing with me. I'm going to give you my initial impression here, and my initial impression is fundamentally simple. It's that we don't know what the hell that other bundle is going to be. They change these things so much, it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to judge. You're going to have to make a value judgment. I would be surprised if next month's bundle doesn't come closer to Sugar Spice, since they seem to have come to the conclusion, based on their internal metrics, that people buy more credits than they do tokens. Chad Tompkins wonders what I want for Snapmas, and it depends who we're asking. From you all, I'd like you to hit that sub button. I'd like you to like and comment. If you like the content and are interested, check out the Patreon. It's linked in the description too. We have lots of exclusive great content there. What I'd like from Second Dinner, besides a new game mode, I want Draft real bad. Like once Draft is out, I'm going to have a problem because I'm going to play way too much Draft. But the other thing I want is them to just be consistent. Be generous and consistent with us. Don't play games to try and nickel and dime players out of an extra bit of money. Be a good company that we can all be happy and proud to support. Sashka asks if social media will be my full-time job in the future, and I'm taking that to mean fundamentally, am I doing this full-time, since we have all these different ways that I do this. I write articles, I do videos, I have the Patreon, all that stuff. And nope, I'm going to teach forever, or at least until retirement, when point I'll go to the hills of Columbia and do videos from there. But I love teaching more than basically anything except my son and my wife. So I'm going to teach forever. I absolutely adore it. It's fantastic. Um, will social media become more important? No, I think social media becomes less important fundamentally the more successful this gets in terms of my Snap career. I think the YouTube part is obviously important, getting people to engage, but I don't think a Twitter presence. We don't even bother with Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of those. They're nice, but they're not necessities. The cat is now asleep on my hand, so if the light gets weird, just know I can't move ever again. So we're trapped here now. All right. If you'd like your questions read out in tomorrow's video, please leave one in the comments. It's actually slightly a lie. Since tomorrow's Christmas, I'm going to record my Celine guide right after I record this. The Patreon people will be able to access it like right away, but I'm going to record that video right after this so that like I can basically take Christmas to just chill with the family. We're going to the movies. Maybe we're going to see 2 movies. We're going to hang out together and have a wonderful day. But you will have videos for every day. So if you ask a question, it will be read out, not in tomorrow's video, but in Wednesday's video. Cool. So it'll be with the giveaway. All right. This is the Boon of the Savage Lands bundle, 7,500 gold, 6,000 collector's tokens, 2,000 credits, and a Khazar variant, which is almost the inverse of this, which is 1,500 collector's tokens and 10,000 credits. Note the progress value is only 2% higher. Cool. The progress value for Boon of the Savage Lands is 2% higher. There's a decent difference in that you're getting one less variant, and honestly, I like this variant less than the Christmas ones. I've fully assumed that this is going to become something like 2,000 collector's tokens and 7,000 credits. I fully expect that to happen. Do we know that? Of course not. They refuse to give us a calendar. Again, I call on them to give us a calendar so we don't have to rely on data mines. This is ridiculous. But it's fundamentally impossible to know. As of right now, excuse me, the Sugar Spice and Everything Ice is generally better value. If you are early Series 3 to mid Series 3, so you're still collecting a lot of Series 4 and 5 cards, you don't have most of them, then getting like the 10,000 credits means you get a bunch of Series 3 cards, right? And in addition to those Series 3 cards, it means you're going to get like 2 Spotlight Caches, which you can turn into 2 cards. Once you have a lot of Series 4 and 5 cards, that's no longer the case, and collector's tokens flip and are more valuable, which would mean I would think this one, the Boon of the Savage Lands, would be better if you are a Series 3 complete or close to Series 3 complete player, but I don't expect this to be what the bundle looks like, which is obnoxious, and it's really hard to give advice. That's why whenever the bundle releases, the day it releases, I will do the review in one of these videos. All right, this is Quinny's 73% mid-range. This deck is completely sick. We've seen decks like it, but this is one of the best versions. Havoc is a silly good card, especially when it costs 1 with Ravona. Feel free to, it looks like you want a Professor X on 4 here, right? And you fairly often do, but feel free to drop Havoc and Professor X on 5 to win a lane. Like, it's just so strong. If you can get Echo mid, your Ms. Marvel is really strong. That Darkhawk Rock Slide, you just muck up their draw. Cosmo can ruin all their BS. You can beat a blob with priority with Cosmo or without priority with Shadow King relatively easily, and you just win the game. If you know they're playing blob, please don't rely on Darkhawk. Instead, your power comes from Ms. Marvel, Shadow King, Cosmo, etc. But short of that, this is a very strong deck. It's one of the best in the game. Quinny claims to have not played it particularly well and still climbed. So Havoc is the MVP. We're going to review Havoc after the second deck. Ms. Marvel is needed. Ms. Marvel is probably the best card in Marvel Snap right now. I'm seeing the complaints and calls for nerf start like they do for everything. I'd run Jubilee or Super Scroll if I didn't have Iron Lad. I think that's totally fine. Ravona is now one of the best cards in the game, as is Zabu. You need them both. Get them both with tokens if possible. You need Darkhawk for this version of the deck, although I would bet you there's a version that doesn't run it. We'll try and put that together at some point on the channel, I'm sure. And Echo can be Nebula or even Iceman. All right, this went 24-8 and climbed 500 ranks post-infinite. That's silly. This climbed into like the top 500, which is just really hard to do in one sitting. And Quinny is dominating with this deck. So turn 1, Echo Maid is generally greater than Korg if you don't know what they're playing. There's ongoing everywhere, and being able to dictate that they cannot do their ongoing shenanigans mid is super strong. Turn 2, Ravona over Zabu. Turn 3, Rock Slide is better than Lad, is better than Ms. Marvel, is better than Cosmo. Turn 4, Professor X, or you do the stuff from 3. Turn 5, Havoc and Professor X, or Havoc and kind of whichever you can. Havoc and Ms. Marvel, Havoc and Iron Lad, Havoc and now Darkhawk are fine. Then turn 6, go tall, wide, and win cubes. But please don't forget your lovely Shadow King or Cosmo here, which are absolute last turn cube stealers pending priority. So Quinny's 73% mid-range. Let's take a quick variant look. For whatever reason, I'll get this fixed on Marvel Snap Zone. The Echo variant I have, which is the Peach Momoko one, is just not showing up. It's my favorite Echo, but it's not showing up. Love featuring this deck today because I can use Rock, Paper, Scissors, Rock Slide as he is wrapping gifts, and Santa Cork. Thrilled. All right, we've got our hips for the day. We've got our Lad. We got our Ms. Marvel. We got our Zabu. We got our Ravona. And we got our Cosmo. 5 is plenty. Good deck. Meltdown Havoc. I really like the way that Havoc looks, in particular with that Darkhawk. If it wasn't Christmas, those two would be my thumbnail. We've got Professor X, with his Bay Magneto, and nope, that's all the cards in the deck. Oh, and the best Shadow King in the game. Sorry, I'd like a better Shadow King. I don't think this is the best Shadow King possible, but I think this one is very good. It fits both sides of the character. All right, so Quinny released this statement, and I think that this is brilliant. Snap is going through something from early Magic the Gathering. Lockdown has been so consistently strong because Lockdown is Sly. Sleep? The first aggro. In pre-Sly, MTG, most decks are focused on doing their thing. Sly changed the game by creating the concept of tempo, making time a resource. And that's just brilliant. So what Lockdown is doing is saying, you better do something before I can. Right? Which is what aggro is doing. Aggro is saying, you better be able to stop me before I can do this, before I can close this game out by just playing a bunch of mono red monsters that just overrun you, right? Now, what happens with Snap is you're trying to, as soon as possible, using cards like Storm and Professor X, say, I'm going to rush this game, and if you don't do something, I auto win. So Lockdown does the same thing as Snap. Lockdown tries to end the game before its opponent can do their thing. This makes tempo real. It means you can't just win every game by having the best greed pile with the occasional tech card or interaction to interrupt your opponent's thing. Mid-range is defined by how it plays like control into aggro and aggro into control. In Snap, excuse me, cat hair. And cat hair, gross. All right, see, lovely. In Snap, what this means is that you have to play big stats against Lockdown, and against big stats, you have to be the Lockdown. This works really well. So let's read that again, because that's super important. In Snap, what that means is you have to play big stats against Lockdown, and against big stats, you have to be the Lockdown. Against Lockdown, you drop a Darkhawk in that lane. You win that lane with Ms. Marvel. Cool. Against big stats, you focus on Professor X. You focus on limiting their plays and locking them down. Lockdown isn't what's wrong with Snap. Lockdown is what makes Snap have tempo, and tempo adds depth. What we've missed is that an all-in Lockdown isn't needed. Dipping a little into Lockdown is how you make the mid-range deck that's both fun to play and interesting to play against. And that's brilliant, and it's a completely new paradigm for Snap that I look forward to seeing examined more. This is what we've been missing and what we need in Snap. This is creative deck building at its finest. Huge props to Quinny. I am Merry Christmas. This is brilliant. Like, I titled this in my notes as Quinny is brilliant, or Quinny is a genius, or something along those lines, because I absolutely love this concept. The concept of not going all in is something we've seen with card packages before. This way of doing it says the card package isn't just about the stats. The card package is about the matchup and how I can force my opponent into my game plan in order to win the game. I would bet you there's more ways to accomplish this. This is fundamentally the difference for me in my head. And Quinny will like chime in for this, whether this makes sense or not fully, because I'm not as versed on early Magic as she is. But this is the fundamental difference between the Shuri Red Skull decks, never mind that, the Shuri Red Skull decks, and the Sentry Annihilus decks, where I think Sentry Annihilus does much more with tempo, and Shuri Red Skull is just stats. So I think that tempo idea and how you can force your opponent into your game and change your game plan, right, is super powerful and super interesting. I would bet there's a deck that does that too, where it fundamentally focuses on board flood. I mean, I guess that's sort of what Bounce does, right? It focuses on board flood and being aggressive to your opponent versus locking your opponent out of spaces with cards like Hood and Sentry. So really cool, really great stuff. Super paradigm shifting. Snap has so much depth we have to discover. I'm really excited for this. All right, next up is Woodward's Miracle. Again, I spelled miracle wrong. Shh, it's Christmas. It's a Christmas miracle. This is a fantastic deck. I absolutely love it. It's fairly similar to yesterday's deck. So yesterday we did a bounce version of this that's running Havoc. That's top cost card is 3. Make sure you check that out. It's a really great deck. This version instead says, okay. So what if I play a more reactive game at the end? I could still do the just big stats thing, right? Sarah into Mysterio, Hitmonkey, and Maximus is going to be a massive amount of power. I believe that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, then you can still play Shadow King. If you had Zabu out, you can still play Shang-Chi and Enchantress, and you're pumping up a bishop. That's huge. You can Scarlet Witch on that last turn if there's a location that you need to win the game with. So there's a lot of options here in order to win that way. All right. Ham can be Echo or just Iceman if you prefer. Woodward had Ham as Echo, and Interrobang changed it to Ham. So this needs Zabu and Monkey. Don't play it without Zabu and Monkey. I've seen Zabu cut from this, and it is so much harder to play. And Jeff can be any good stats card. I like Lizard or Medusa. So this one, oop, there goes the cat. So this one, 3 infinity tickets. So turn 1 is Ham or Echo or whatever one drop you run. I was on Blue Train's stream and he changed that for Killmonger, which worked just fine. If you don't want to run a 1, feel free. Turn 2, Zabu, Jeff, or Scarlet Witch. Do not play Maximus or Shadow King if you could avoid it. Zabu is obviously key here because if you go Zabu Sarah, having 2 cost Enchantress and Shang-Chi is insane. Which is why, just in case you were wondering, whoop, he's back. Which is why Shadow King is so good, right? Shadow King is so good because you have to do all that work to get Sarah and Enchantress to 2, and Shadow King is just 2. Turn 3 is Bishop. Turn 4, Enchantress or 2/2s. Enchantress can often just take out like a Ms. Marvel at that point. Enchantress can often take out something powerful. Or you recognize a deck that has few ongoings, just drop Enchantress. The 4/5 is fine. Or you can drop like a Jeff and Scarlet Witch. At this once in a while, I'm willing to play Maximus if I know what they're playing. Turn 5 is Sarah. If you can at all play it. I've had turn 5s where I go turn 5 Mysterio into Hitmonkey just fine, and then turn 6 I can play both Shadow King and Shang-Chi or Shadow King and Enchantress. But turn 6 is meant to be Mysterio, Hitmonkey, and every damn thing else. If you get Sarah, that's a snap condition right there. Sarah with Mysterio, Hitmonkey, and other cards is super duper strong, especially if you throw him priority appropriately. And please, please, please throw priority. Jeff is so strong here at throwing priority because he can be power in a lane that helps you lose priority and then can move to be more power elsewhere when you're ready. I'm getting whacked with a tail. This cat's going to bite me soon. All right. Let's take a quick look at variants. We've got Spider Hip, Zabu Hip, Jeff Hip, Mysterio Hip, and Sarah Hip. So 5. Again, a good number. I want that Bishop Hip real bad right about now. We talked about the Shadow King. I like the Scarlet Witch. It feels like a modern Scarlet Witch, like the Scarlet Witch of the comics for the past 20 years. So I really like to see it. This is my favorite Scarlet Witch in the game. I've had the opportunity for the Hip, which I don't like as much. This is my favorite Maximus. I pulled into cash recently. This Bishop came from some bundle or another. It's fine. I believe both the Shang and the Enchantress are Jacinto, so I've started running them together. I really like the stylized nature of them, especially with the other cards in this deck. And I have the Hip Monkey, but I like this one better. Animated the background like burst sort of circles, and it looks great. I'm a big fan. This is my favorite Hip Monkey in the game. All right, last chance review on Havoc. Series 4, 3,000 tokens. Havoc works with very particular Series 4 and 5 cards, or not at all. So Havoc wants Ravonna in most decks, or it wants Hitmonkey, or it wants Darkhawk, right? Or it wants Annihilus. So if you have those cards, then Havoc is a good buy for tokens. If you don't have those cards, if you're missing a lot of the cards for that deck, then Havoc is not worth it. He is a very strong card. One of Quinny's favorites in the game. I believe Quinny's second favorite after Invisible Woman, replacing Goose. A 2/8 that you can play is just incredibly powerful. And very often he ends up finding ways to get more because he's running decks with Bast, and then he's a 2/11. And there's just a lot of ways to do really interesting things. If you've got Bast and Ravonna, he's a 1/11. And if you'd like to count that extra energy, he's still a 2/11 or a 3/8 or whatever. And like that, you can pay for that over multiple turns is extremely strong. If you get Shadow King, he's still 4. You're only losing 4 energy on that deal, which is great. I think he's a great card. I honestly think he's a great card. I just think he's a great card that works best in support of other powerful cards and powerful abilities. I haven't seen a really good deck with Havoc that's not running multiple Series 4 and 5 cards. I listed a few of those again a couple seconds ago. Rewind. But the most important ones, I think, are Hitmonkey and Ravonna if you really want to make him work. So if you have those cards, then I think he's a valuable use of your tokens. Should you buy him above Ravonna? No. Should you buy him above Zabu? No. I'm not even sure you should buy him above Darkhawk, who's significantly worse than he was before. So if you have lots of the other key Series 4 cards, and you have the other support pieces, then he's a very powerful card. Again, I think the best deck we've seen for him is the Get Wrecked bounce deck from yesterday's video. So give that one a try. I don't think you'll be sad about it at all. All good? We all clear on Havoc. Someone's going to misunderstand this. So please, if you're not sure if you should buy Havoc or not, tell me what you got in the comments, and I'll tell you whether you should get him or not. Cool. All right. Loki by night. This is Lamby's Loki list. We've seen variations on this 10,000 times. Basically, it uses Werewolf as a bunch of power, and Loki Collector, and then you play their cards cheaper, right? The bounce package powers up Collector, and it moves around Werewolf. Plenty good. Zabu hits the two most important cards of the deck, Werewolf and Loki. It's not bad to hit Shang too. Very rarely nowadays am I going Werewolf and Loki with this deck. It's instead very often one or the other, but it still can happen with Zabu that you do both, or that you can go Werewolf on 4, Loki on 5. That's totally fine. It's just not as common. It works because you can go Werewolf, and then you can play 1-drop Loki on 5, and that's, pretty damn decent because you're getting 2 moves on Werewolf. Werewolf is then a 4/8 immediately, which is, a lot. Rogue is this real swing card here, outside of like Series 4 and 5 cards you don't have. Rogue is most successfully, most often in the highest win rate versions of this Quinjet. But Lamby plays Rogue, so we're going to assume that Rogue is there because most people just kind of do what Lamby does. This needs Loki and Werewolf. Now I believe it also needs Zabu. Snow Guard is important but can be Agent 13. Same thing for Nico, and you can also replace with a Barrage or a Sentinel. Rogue can be Quinjet, so can any of the other things except Loki, Werewolf, and Zabu. You can just replace one of them with Quinjet and probably be fine. Quinjet's really, really powerful. Lamby doesn't have it here largely because of the presence of Falcon, but it's not super important. All right, this is High Infinite's most effective deck. Lamby and KM, probably the two most vocal content creator High Infinite players. There are plenty of others, but they're the two most vocal. Consider this the best deck. So that means it's very, look, one of my, I don't agree necessarily, but one of my general stances in life is some people spend an awful lot more time thinking and gaining knowledge about certain things than most of us do. And while I don't agree necessarily, the fact that Lamby understands the game better than I do, and I don't think Cam understands the game significantly more than I do, but I think he's better at it than I am. I think that probably means that they're right, or at least more right than I am in this. Like, I think there's room for us to both be right in varying degrees, right? I think the gap is smaller than they think, so on and so forth. But this is a deck you need to know if you want to climb into Infinite, if you want to play Conquest, and Infinite Conquest opens tomorrow. So turn 1 Maria Hill is generally better than Snow Guard, which is generally better than the other 1-drops. You never see Nico on these guides. You drop Nico when the timing is right. Turn 2, Collector is fundamentally equal to Zabu. It depends what you have. If you know damn well you're going to be Lokiing on 4 and you don't want to Loki on 3, then Collector's better. If you might want to Loki on 3, then, or you just have Werewolf and no Loki, then Zabu is better. Cool. Turn 3, Werewolf or Loki or Collector if you can, and Beast or Falcon are perfectly fine, because sometimes you don't have Collector or Zabu and you play a bunch of 1s, and then you just Beast them back and go about your business, right? You can play Werewolf on 4 and then start bouncing it immediately. Turn 4 is fundamentally meant to be Loki or Werewolf where humanly possible. Turn 5 is Loki or their cards. Turn 5 tends to be too late for Werewolf unless you did the Beast trick earlier. And turn 6, Shang and Rogue. Shang, Rogue, and 1s or their cards. All good? But how do you play against it? First, Shadow King absolutely rocks the face off this deck, whether it be Werewolf or whether it be Collector. Shadow King is absolutely stellar against those cards. They very rarely have an answer. High synergy decks tend to beat Loki. This used to be Apocalypse Discard, which like always had a really high win rate, even when Loki was completely busted. Now it's stuff like Hela or Tribunal Ongoing. You don't auto win those matchups. Loki can win anything, especially because Shang-Chi is in the deck. But if they get any type of wrong combination of your stuff, you have all game to set up the right combination of your stuff and win. Locking down locations helps. They, generally speaking, need a lot of space, especially if your deck is like low cost while locking down. So you they'll get a bunch of low cost stuff without any real space to play it if you have lockdown. Junk is also important for the same reason. They need space to operate, because unless they're getting really big stuff, and especially because Werewolf and with little space or junk is rough. So you need to know their curve. i.e., if they see Zabu, start figuring out like, can you compete if they snap? Are they going to Loki now? Are they not going to Loki now? So on. If you see Collector, if you don't see Collector or Zabu, they're missing both. That's a really good sign. They might not be able to output as much power as you at that point if they're not seeing Collector or Zabu by turn 3, and that usually means that like you're relatively safe to stay in. If they're seeing both of those cards and then they Loki, so if they see Collector and then Werewolf, you're fine, right? At least fine-ish. If you see Zabu into Loki, you need to know how well your deck plays cheaper at that point. If your deck has a lot of ongoings and their werewolf's not going to be really strong, that's fine. If you can Shadow King off their collector, they wasted a lot of their early game, right? Or sorry, if they Zabu into Loki, I guess they don't really have much of an early game. So you have a lot of options for how to win that game. Try and figure out what they have based on what they start playing early. If they're playing very little, you know they have a lot of cheap stuff, very likely that they can afford to play later. I know it seems like they would have big stuff, right? But if they have bigger stuff on turn like 4, that means they have one of your 5 drops, right? Which they'd have to play on turn 4. So like if they're not doing that, that means they have cheaper stuff. And finally, consider avoiding the collector lane unless you have Shadow King. If they have a lane that has collector in it, unless you have like a Shadow King or Shang-Chi, don't really compete for points there. Try and consider fairly carefully where you're competing for points to make sure that you can win. Also, finally, it's not listed here, but Mobius is still great. Mobius is still one of the better answers for this deck if you feel like. All good? That's how you play this deck and this map. Oh, also, one last thing. Sorry. If you can get a nice early Cosmo really affects this. So feel free to Cosmo their face off if you can manage to like predict that Loki, especially if they're going to do it on 3 and you'll have priority if you have plays and they have Zabu. Like go for it. Like shut off their Loki, win the game, snap, have fun, enjoy your cubes. Cool. It's not easy to play against Loki, and it's extremely stressful, which is part of the actual problem with the deck. It's not that it's always the best deck; it's that it's often very frustrating to play against. All right, variant stuff. We've got our Hellfire Gala Forge, matching our thumbnails, Hellfire Gala Professor X. Noir Maria Hill, Midnight Suns Nico. This is my favorite snow guard. I just opened it in a cache. I have a Spotlight one, but I like this one better. Hips for Collector, Zabu, Beast, and Falcon here. I decided to run my favorite Shang, the Art Adams. I really like this Werewolf as well. Jim Lee for the Rogue. It's just, I opened it in a cache. It's that or the Cozy Winter one. And then the Loki we got from the season pass. I also have the Brooklyn Rainbow Bridge, but I like this one a little bit better, so I'm with it. All good. That is Loki by Night. Hopefully you know how to play it. Hopefully you know how to play against it. My variant shop for the day was another no buys. So, the Max Greeky Black Knight. Tomorrow I'm getting the Black Knight from the Spotlights. So I don't really want the Greeky. I don't really like the Max Greeky Black Knight, so I'm not getting it. Instead, I'm getting the next one. I am a big Black Knight fan, though. I have the hip for Annihilus. I have the hip for Spider-Man. I have the hip and the Jacinto for Venom. And then we're looking, I have like 3 Deadpools. So like I really like the post-apocalyptic Deadpool. I think it's the best. I think there's an argument that Symbiote is the best Spider-Man, but I have enough other variants. I have a gold, the gold one from the Ghost Spider season for Spider-Man too. Like sorry, I have the Spider-Man season. Let's rewind that. Cool. I have the Ghost Spider season pass Spider-Man with a gold background, and I have the hip Spider-Man. So I don't need the symbiote. If I had it, I'd probably play it sometimes, but I don't need it. And I have like 3 Deadpools, which we look at all the time, every time the post-apocalyptic comes out, because I love the post-apocalyptic. But I have 3 other ones. I have the taco one, I have the Will Merc for food one, and I have the $5 one they released in some little bundle. So yeah. Art Germ Valkyrie is fine, but I have this really great Rian Gonzalez Valkyrie. I always want to say Rian Gonzalez Valkyrie, so I'm perfectly happy with that. That is Lauren Whatev's favorite card, Valkyrie, although I believe she runs the Pixel. So, whatever, I have my favorite of that. Then we have Invisible Woman, which is the homie Quinny's favorite card, and I believe she also runs the Pixel. But I have this Alex Ross variant, which I completely love. I feel like Alex Ross is just kind of like more comic-y art germ. I tend to like it better. And the last is the Max Greek Surfer, which I love. I think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous surfer, and I always almost buy it. But I have the Jacinto one from the season pass. I have the hip, and I have the center one. I don't know who did it, but it's in black and white, and it is completely freaking gorgeous. I love it so very much. So we're set. So, final thoughts. I think the first deck here is completely nuts. I think the second deck here is a fantastic new look on an old favorite, and the third deck is something you need to know and play against. Hopefully, you hit that subscribe button, and Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, or just hey, Happy Monday to you. Thank you to our Patreons. Certain tiers of support get thanks in every video. We got Models, Pretty Chill, Fothor Newman, Matt Rowland, No Flex, Derek Williams, and Mandatory Burnout. Thanks so much for the love and support. Know I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you tomorrow with another Snap Take. Peace.